Chairman Smith, you're recognized for your opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Cole, Ranking Member McGovern. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to say a few words about the legislation before us that addresses the debt ceiling, and it begins to address the spending binge that got us here. Let's start by talking about why we are here a mere few days prior to potential default. It's because the Biden administration refused to come to the table until 100 days after Speaker McCarthy said, "Let's talk." Even though polls show the majority of Americans, they want a debt ceiling agreement where Congress can cut spending. The refusal to negotiate was a deliberate decision on the part of the White House. It wasted a lot of time and stoked a lot of fear. I should note for my colleagues that Democrats could have raised the debt limit last year when they controlled the House of Representatives. The fact is, we are here because after the last debt limit increase, Democrats blew through the $2.5 trillion debt ceiling increase in 399 days. That's more than $6 billion in new debt issued per day. And when Democrats controlled all of Washington, they increased spending by $10 trillion. And what did the American people get? They got the worst inflation crisis in a generation, rising interest rates, making their mortgage, their car loan, or small business loan harder to afford, and a trail of wasteful spending of federal tax dollars on everything from golf courses to ski resorts, beach bathrooms, to stimulus checks for prisoners. The only reason we have a solution before us, the Fiscal Responsibility Act, is because Republicans acted responsibly from day one. We called for negotiations. We put forward a plan and passed it in the House of Representatives. We listened to the American people who are tired of the reckless spending and want Congress to behave responsibly. The bill is not everything everyone wanted, but it delivers for the American people on several fronts. For example, it claws back pandemic-era funding that is so clearly no longer needed. This bill will be the largest rescission of previously authorized taxpayer dollars ever signed into law. The bill text is comprised of 20 pages canceling plans to spend tax dollars on wasteful projects. 1/5 of the bill is rescinding projects. It puts the brakes on the past 2 years of Washington's reckless runaway spending. For 10 years, we had discretionary spending caps in Washington. But during 2 years of complete Democrat control, all of that went away. What we saw was an explosion of discretionary spending. For 10 years, we had average annual discretionary growth of roughly 2.5%. Over the last 2 years, the pot of spending for discretionary spending has grown by 16%. This bill also helps more Americans escape poverty. The common sense work requirements will flip the switch on the status quo that right now pays Americans more to stay at home than to find a job. This bill downsizes the outrageous pay raise the IRS was given under one-party Democrat rule. An IRS that with every passing day shows itself less and less deserving of the American people's trust, never mind more of their tax dollars. The Fiscal Responsibility Act brings back administrative pay-go. Had something like that been in place for the last 2 years, the Biden administration would not have been able to issue over $1 trillion worth of executive actions without first finding savings to offset those actions. This bill also reinforces an important precedent, even from when President Biden was a senator and when he was vice president. The debt ceiling ought to be the mechanism that forces parties to the table to negotiate ways to address Washington's spending habit. It's a shame that it took this long for the president to do the responsible thing. The American people didn't have to wait those 100 days he chose to sit on the sidelines. But we have an agreement now and an opportunity to deliver some big wins for the American people. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Representative Thompson, you're recognized for your opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member McGovern. I'm testifying today on behalf of the Ways and Means Committee